Now these days, I don't have a lot of time on my hands for projects, especially ones with engines. So that's why I went out and picked up a 2002 Polaris Sportsman 400 that needed a bunch of work. Now actually, I have been looking for an ATV for a little while, and I actually was looking for one that needed a little bit of work. Now maybe not as much work as this one needs, but I came across this one and the price was right, so I decided to pick it up. And even though it does need some work, it's just a lot of little stuff. There doesn't seem to be anything majorly wrong with this machine. So I think it's got a good foundation to start from. The guy that sold this to me told me it was a 2002. However, I found you can do a VIN search on the Polaris website. And when I punched in my VIN number, I found out that this is actually a 1995. Now, despite the fact that this thing is older than I thought it was, I still got a good price on it, so I'm not going to end up losing money on it, even if I sell it the way it is. Now, probably the biggest problem with this machine is that it doesn't stay running. It'll start up, it'll kind of idle, and I can tool around the yard with it here, but after a while, I'll be just kind of riding along and it'll just cut out and stall. Now, I can jump right back on it and fire it up and it'll run again, but like I said, it just keeps stalling for no reason. So it either needs some carburetor work or maybe there's something with the fuel system that needs some attention. I'm not sure. We'll dig into it and find out. Now, another thing that I need to address fairly soon with this machine are the brakes. Now, the front brakes do work, not well, but they work, and the parking brake doesn't work. And the rear brakes don't seem to work at all. I think they're just loose or not adjusted right. So I'll do a walk around on this thing for you now so you guys can kind of see what I'm dealing with, and I'll talk about some of the other issues that I know about that need to be addressed with this machine. So if we start at the front, obviously the machine came with a plow. It's a little bit on the older side and a little bit beat up, but it's all there. And you know, it's just a plow, so it doesn't really matter what it looks like. I'm not entirely sure what the vice grips are for just yet, but I guess we'll figure that out. You can see that all the bracketry here and everything looks pretty good. And it was actually welded right onto the front of this thing. So it's actually pretty solid and isn't going to go anywhere. Now, if we look up here, the winch that's on this thing is actually fairly new. The guy that owned this before me put this on last year and really didn't use it much, just to kind of raise and lower the plow. You can see everything looks new. There's a nice control kind of relay solenoid thing here. I'll probably need to, well, tighten that up and maybe put some kind of cover on this to protect it. But other than that, everything seems okay with the winch. That seems to work just fine. Now, one thing I've noticed so far is the lights don't seem to work. I don't know if the bulbs are just burned out or they're not wired up right, but either way, I'll need to adjust those and this light here. Now, if we take a look at the tires, you can see they're kind of old and dry rotted. They do hold air, so that's not an issue. The previous owner did say that one of them, I think the other front tire, will kind of leak out over a couple of weeks. You just fill it back up and it's fine. But new tires may be in order for this thing. But if I look at the rims, they all look pretty good. They're not rashed up and kind of chewed up from hitting rocks and stuff like that. So I think we're in pretty good shape overall with the wheels. Just need some new tires at some point. So if I get you guys in here under the machine a little bit, you can kind of see the suspension here. Everything looks pretty good. I don't see any signs of leaking or blown seals on the shocks. The springs look good. And then if we dig in a little deeper here, you can kind of see all the tie rods and stuff like that all looks pretty good. I mean, it's an old machine. It's been used, but I don't think it's been severely abused too much. If I get you guys in over here, we'll take a look on the side of the engine. One of the problems I need to address is the header pipe here, the exhaust pipe. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's loose right there. There's sort of a stud here, and the previous owner told me it just keeps loosening up. Now, I did tighten it when I first brought it home, but it loosened itself right back up. So I don't know if there's some kind of problem with these studs or whatever, but this is going to need to be addressed. And not only is the machine real loud, you know, of course, this will have lower back pressure and isn't good for the engine, and it may actually be contributing to one of the reasons it's not staying running right. As you can see from the sticker, this is a four-wheel drive machine, and as far as I know, the four-wheel drive seems to all be working. No issues there, so that's good news. If we look up here, you can see the stickers are a little worn. I'm not sure what all these little void stickers are here, but we can clean all that up and take care of that, I suppose. Maybe I'll even paint it, who knows. Looking up here on the dash, here's the front brake. And as I said, the brakes work, but the little parking brake switch is all seized up, so if this thing is just sitting, it wants to roll away. This switch here controls the winch. And you can see that's all working just fine. Taking a look at the speedometer, I'm not sure if this works. I wasn't even looking at it when I was riding it around, but this shows 2531 for mileage. Who knows if that's accurate or not. You know, something this age, you never know. Over here is the throttle control, and the four-wheel drive control is here. You can see when I turn it on, it puts it in all-wheel drive. When I turn it off, it's in two-wheel drive. I'm not sure what this stuff is underneath the gas gauge, but that all seems to work. I don't know if you guys can see down in the tank, there's a little bit of gas in there, so we're in good shape. Now, as I said, this one is a two-stroke, and it does have an oil injector here. But the previous owner told me he never uses this. He doesn't put any oil in here. He just pre-mixes the gas and puts it in here. Maybe that's easier, I'm not sure. Or maybe the oil injector doesn't work. If we take a look at the seat, that looks a little bit ratty. I mean, it's fine for running around the woods here, but maybe if I get ambitious, I'll either replace it or recover it, or who knows. Or maybe I'll just ride it like that. It should be fine as it is. Now, coming around the back, here's a look at the back tires. You can see there's some tread left on them, but they really are dry rotted quite badly. So sooner than later, these back tires probably ought to be replaced. I have a feeling that this machine sat for a while before the previous owner bought it. But again, if you look at the rims, they all look good. They're not rashed up or bent or anything like that. So again, you know, I'll run these tires for now while I get this thing running good. And then maybe in the spring, I will get a new set of tires for it. Taking a look at the back, it's got a pretty robust rack here. Could use some paint, but you know, for a woods machine, this is just fine. Can strap chainsaws and whatever you need up here and take it out in the woods for trail maintenance. So if I pop this flap and look in here, I wonder what kind of surprises we're gonna have. Well, it looks like we got some free tools, maybe a screwdriver, a pair of pliers, some wire. What do we got here? Bud Light. Who drinks Bud Light? So looking down underneath at the back, you can see we've got a single monoshock, and again, that all looks like it's in pretty good shape. Doesn't really look to be leaking or blown or anything like that. And then over here is the battery. This is actually pretty new. I think the previous owner just put this in here a month or two ago. The driveline all looks good. There's no signs of damage or leaking or anything broken. The only thing that does need to be addressed, as I mentioned earlier in the video, is this chain is really loose. So we just need to get that tightened up. I'll have to look up how to do that and get that taken care of. If I look at the muffler or spark arrestor, whatever you want to call it, a little rusty on the outside, but otherwise good. No holes or anything. Actually, it seems a little bit loose there for whatever reason. We'll have to figure out where the brackets are and tighten that up, I guess. Again, on this side, dry rotted older tire, but good, solid, nice, clean rim. Coming over to this side, you can see the plastics all look good, although there is a screw missing there for some reason. And this seems loose. Something just fell off of it. That's great. We'll pick that up in a minute. Here's the shifter. This only has a high and a low speed, neutral, and reverse. That all seems to work okay. I played with all the gears, no grinding, no signs of any weird noises from the transmission. That all seems to function as it should. Now, one thing that this machine is going to also need is a starter. When I engage the starter, it seems like it catches and then lets go, so I don't know if something is stripped in there, but it does start just fine with the pull cord here. This tire actually looks the best out of all of them. I don't know if it was replaced sooner than the others. I'll have to look at the date codes, but this is the one that the previous owner told me leaks out over a couple of weeks, so maybe that's why. I don't know. And again, if we look underneath on this side, everything looks good with the suspension. The only issue is the loose exhaust pipe here. Before I put it in my nice warm cellar for the winter and start tearing it apart, I'll fire it up for you guys so you can hear it run. First, I'll activate the choke, come around this side, make sure it's in neutral. Now I'll give this thing a couple rips and see if it starts. Can't pull it because the freaking wood pile's in the way. Forgot to turn the gas on. There we go. So as you saw, she runs, she goes forward, she goes backwards, and she smokes a lot, especially since I had it choked since it's cold out here. I've got oodles of free time on my hands, so yeah, I need another project here. So the plan for now is to wheel this thing into the cellar where it's warm, and I can work on it on those snowy nights when I really can't do anything else. So hopefully by spring, I'll have all those issues addressed and I'll have a nice, reliable machine to use around the yard here and on some trail maintenance I need to do in town. So if you're interested in this sort of thing and want to see if I make any progress with this thing, keep an eye on my channel for future updates. Yeah, it's recording.
Is it? Oh, it's got me. Oh, God.
There you go. You gotta turn it around.
You better cut that out. I'm gonna like punch you.
I'm leaving that in.
No.